A lot in the news.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you're getting. And here we go. It's always a battle when it's showtime, when it's time to
Yes.
go live. All of a sudden,
Hey, I
we
don't hear the echo.
yeah. There's not an echo now.
Not now, now,
We're on
now.
Cher's YouTube. We're on Cher's Facebook, and let's see. Also, Brant's YouTube. Of course, we're recording for television too. Brant's Facebook. And it looks like Ivan Tuttle. We're on Ivan Tuttle as well. And we're about to start with Watchers, folks. We don't mind bringing you behind the scenes, but we won't make you wait either. Let's go ahead and start. Hey, it's another edition of Watchers Live with Ivan Tuttle, Cher Butler, and yours truly, Brant Fricker. How you two doing today?
Fantastic. How are you?
Doing good. A lot of things are happening in the news. People are not wanting to, and nor should they want to let go of the things that have come to light, the literal eating of children. And in the meantime, the demoniacs are saying, "Oh, let's just play moderate here," and the media wants to focus on a bogus kidnapping or something staged, or maybe it is real. I don't know. But in the meantime, we cannot let these children down, and we have to speak out about it. But that's one of the things in the headlines right now. But before we jump into that, we already have someone jumping on. Hello there, Jama. And so, Ivan and Cher, what are you thinking? How you feeling right now with what's happening in the world and on the headlines?
Go for it, Cher.
Well, I love what you said, Brant, that, everybody wants us just to turn a blind eye to what we're seeing coming out right now concerning cannibalism and abuse, satanic ritual abuse, Illuminati cults tied to Epstein files, and way beyond that. As we know, the Epstein files are deeper than that. There was already a network before Epstein came in. He was
Mm,
merely a part of it and
right.
then expanded it. And there's so many players in that. And I just want to say we're not going to turn a blind eye. We're going to talk about these things. And Ivan and I, we've done a lot of deliverance, and we this is no shock to us, but it is still shocking at the same time. The nature of what's been hidden for so long. It's shocking that we have not seen arrest, which I think that they're coming. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of things behind the scenes, principalities, powers, wickedness, and then, of course, tied to the physical in different governments and structures that actually complicate things more than the people see. That's why people are like, we want to arrest right now. And, I do believe that Trump knows more than what he lets on. He speaks strategically, whether we believe it or not. Some people don't believe that. I do believe that. He's an intelligent man. I think
Mm.
he's known about these things for a lot longer. And there's some strategic things going on behind the scenes. I'm prayerful for that. I do believe that we're going to see the things like maybe even bodies being found and more evidence and things like that. Um, One thing I wanted to point out too, and I really want to hear your take on this, guys, but there has been talk of maybe pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, and I hope that they don't. Really, I believe that this calls for like this is a fear is like the death penalty even, and I know that she hasn't done a lot of talking yet, and if in my opinion, I would just be like, well, you know what, you don't need to talk. We got the evidence we need. We're done. We're dealing with you. What I don't know what you think, but I'll hand it over to Ivan and see what he has to say.
Mm.
Well, first of all, she's not going to get a pardon. That's already been discussed, and he's like, no. Then the other thing you have to realize that finding things out and proving things are two different things.
Mm.
And you'll find that in a court of law, and you'll find that any place. So unfortunately, they're just discovering some things, and the discovery sounds horrible, but to have proof of what's being discovered is two different things. And without the proof, and I'm not talking about we find these things, but the proof has to come forward for when you take something to the court of law, you have to have evidence beyond a preponderance, of doubt. They can't have any. In other words, it's got to be like, hey, yeah, this is absolutely what happened. So before Trump can say anything, because he's already said too many things sometimes, but before he can say anything to prove this, he has to have all the proof. And that's what he's waiting for. So let's see what he does. And that's why sometimes we wonder why isn't he saying something more about it? Because he has to wait. because if he says something, you know exactly what the press is going to do. Not the press, but the fake news.
And
So,
it's all fake, it's all fake. They've always been on the side of our enemies, and people don't understand always that the Luciferians, the jihadists, the anarchists, the pedophile ring. I mean, they've been aligned with our media and now together for a long time. The communists, you name it. You can't trust anything you see. I have friends that are on Fox, and they have to sign an agreement that they can't even say all the things that they'd like to say.
sure.
But none of this information is new. Plausible deniability. I mean, that's the way of the day. And now, well, that's not real. I mean, you have you noticed when you talk to someone that is deranged in that camp that you could show them a video and they won't believe it. It's because they don't want to believe it. They don't choose to believe it. Ted Nugent was on, but I guess he was at NRB. I didn't go this time, but he was there, and he said, our greatest enemy is not Pelosi and Biden and Obama's and all that. Our greatest enemy is apathy. And the fact that we had 34 million evangelicals not even vote in 2020 during a stolen election. You still should have voted. And it's why it's so important, folks, to watch and pray, but also to show up and vote. And in this case too, it's going to sound unusual, but even both of you are leaders. We didn't necessarily grow up wanting to be political leaders, but if we don't take places of leadership with godly precepts and a foundation of the Word of God and loving our country, guess who will? And so this is a time that we have to step up. But I'm concerned. When I met Charlie Kirk, we were in the green room at the Western Conservative Summit, and I love that kid, and Trump Jr. was there, and so many others were there, and Brigitte was there, and he said, I'm afraid we're losing our country. So, amongst all this storm and the noise and the fog of war, so to speak, because we are at war, we've got to stop the world, find our true north, and get active. And please vote, show up, and we gotta get more proactive. I hate to say it, but we can't leave it up to the churches. Look where we are. I mean, we love churches. We hope they all do well, but I only know a few pastors that will speak it like it is and call things out because they're not concerned about losing tithes or members. They know that the watchmen on the wall are accountable, and there's a penalty for those who don't sound the alarm. But we've got to do something. What do you say?
Well, I'm going to speak up on this real quick, if you don't mind. I don't mean to cut you off, sure.
No.
I just want to speak up real quick because here's what I see going on. Okay, this will explain exactly what's happening right now. There is such a demonic release on this earth right now, way beyond what it's ever been. I mean, we're talking about in a place of business. We're talking about in our government. We're talking about in our homes. We're talking about in the stores. We're talking about on our TV, on everything that we do, on our tablets, on our phones. There is such a demonic release right now in this world that it is affecting people way beyond what it normally has affected them. It is trying to distract and deter people from seeing the real things that God has for us. And it's doing everything it can. And unfortunately, the demonic controlled press is doing the same thing with what they're doing. And so when we realize that this demonic stuff that's going on right now, all of this demonic stuff, and I want you to really think about this. Look at the homes. Look at what's happening in the homes today. Just in everybody's home. My home too. I mean, the things come in here. I've had to actually put a stop at my door, a bloodline stop at my door. You don't come past there anymore. And I'm telling you, I don't want anything like that. But it's coming into people's homes through the radios, through the tablets, through the TVs, through everything that you have. And it's destroying lives. And that's the number one thing, Brant. That's what we're fighting against. We're not fighting against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of the air. It is truly 100% demonic. All this stuff that is being discovered is demonic. And that's why when you start looking at what's going on, you're exactly right. We need to get people out to vote. The demonic's getting them to stay home. We need to rebuke that. We need to bind it. We need to get rid of it. And we need people to get out and vote, because if they can't get out and vote, not just vote, support these candidates that are doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
If they're talking about God, I don't care what their lifestyle is like right now, but if they're talking about God, I mean, you know, I'm going to just stop for a second. You look at Jelly Roll. Okay, I don't think the guy's the greatest thing on earth, but his testimony is awesome.
Yeah.
Does he make bad words in it? Yeah, he does. But you know what? He's taken a stand where all these other people are setting back because they're listening to the demons. I'm just being blunt.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's a lot of warfare over the mind. So I think that's what's going on more than anything else across the United States and other nations, and it's always been this way. It's warfare over the mind. Just like in North Korea, they're scared to think for themselves. And I heard a testimony of one lady who came out of that and said it was just exhausting to learn how to think because the government had controlled them so much that they believed that they could read their thoughts. But we have the same thing in the church. We talk about these principalities and powers and those governmental cults that are also connected to science. They're connected to our government. They're connected to their education system, to all spheres of influence. And they're out to control how we think and how we view things. And so I say that we need to start doing some warfare and praying against these attacks over our mind. We see it all the time. That's why people are so apt to disbelieve what they hear. Like Brant was saying, you know, you can tell somebody, you can show them actual evidence, but they have their mindset. It's because it's a brainwashing. It's because there is a supernatural element behind that. That's not natural. That's supernatural. They've been brainwashed so much to believe in. Let's see, they're bringing back racism. That's on the rise because of what is being pushed out in the media. They're bringing back, you know, the same thing. It was defund the police. Now it's defund ISIS. It's the same exact tactics they use over and over. But people are so blinded. My biggest concern is the church. Do you know that these people who are in the Illuminati are satanic ritual abuse survivors that have come out of these types of things? All say that their family was in church every Sunday and then they did the rituals that night. You know, these people are in our churches. And so for these pastors and just anybody to say, you know, the word politics is a bad word, and they say, I don't want to be a political person. I actually heard that earlier today. Oh, I'm not a political person. People are scared of that. And I'm not saying to have a political spirit, but these things are directly coming in conflict with morality, with the ways of Jesus Christ. And when it says take every thought captive that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, that is directly what we're coming against. And we can't be shy about it. We should apologize for it. You know, I am going to be political in this season because it's intertwining with what's biblical, and voting is very important. I'm a millennial, and I raise up, you know, people under me are Gen Z, and I have, of course, in the ministry we have all different generations connected because you need that. We need that unity right now. We all need to come together. But millennials, you know, for so long we're so lazy, and they were in that culture of, you know, just kind of just it's do whatever feels good, and that's not going to work in this season because doing whatever feel good and just turning the blind eye isn't going to work whenever people are being murdered, and we are losing our nation right now. But there's always hope. There's a divine turnaround, I believe, coming. What do you guys see with that?
Well, I like to jump in there, and that is that there is a turn coming when we act. You know, Charlie Kirk, I saw a footage of him at one of his many events, and they were saying, well, you know, how do you justify being a Christian, but the political thing? He said, it's biblical in the Old Testament and in the New Testament to pray for your nation. The very word ecclesia that we love to throw around is a secular term. It involves leadership as well. And leadership in the city gates. Do a study on it. It's not just church. Here's the church, here's the steeple, open it up, here's all the people where they stay and don't do anything. Or we keep them coming back so many times to keep paying the bills that they don't have any time to do anything out in the world. No shame, no blame, planted 3 of them, okay? I'll believe in the local church. But it's going to take doing something different to have something different. Right now, as we speak in Waxahachie, Texas, there's an occult bookstore going in that the chamber's so excited about. In Bowie, Texas, another occult bookstore going in that the city councilman is so excited about that a mom and pop is selling voodoo dolls in that city as well. They're not only coming here as Islamists and running, They're not only running as conservatives when they are very liberal, and the Islamists will tell you, we love the left. They're stupid. They're stupid. Go ahead and go vote. Go ahead and do your little parades and stuff. We'll throw you from buildings later, but go be busy with that. They fear the conservatives because we actually want to stand up and will stand up. But there's things right under our noses, and yet we're not. Oh, I don't want to get political. Read your Bible. Do a Bible study. Study Ecclesia, and take your place. You know what? We're so concerned about breaking any laws or breaking any of the new laws that these demoniacs create that they themselves don't obey. That we're willing to let a transgender, a Baphomet worshiper walk into a restroom with our child, not me. So here we are. I mean, my gosh, is it not past time, folks, to rise up and stand up? You think being quiet will save you? If you're white, they want to kill you. If you're a conservative black or Latino, they want to kill you. Why don't you stand up? At least stand up if they want to kill you anyway. That's what we're facing. You pastors better wake up if you haven't already. And for the ones who are leaders or who are warriors, lead the charge. In Waxahachie, come against those demonic, satanic gatherings they're planning. In Bowie, Texas, come against that. Pastor Eddie Klump, pray for that man. He's making a stand. Can he even get his own members to join the fight? God, I hope so. But I've never seen a situation where we have to fight so hard to get our own people to stand up. Are you asleep? What are you doing? So, there's a saying, only do what you can't not do. Well, I can't not do something. And that's why we're doing this as the Watchers. We love you. But hey, we got to rise up. So if you're passive, just keep scrolling on, go back to sleep. But if you are a watcher, or you're a warrior, or you're a leader that will speak the truth without fear, that will do it, even as Nehemiah said, hammer in one hand and a sword by your side. That's where we are. What do you say?
Well, I'm going to say this real quick, okay? Two things. First of all, you don't have to ask a pastor to be political. You have to ask the pastor if he believes in right and wrong.
Right.
If he believes in right and wrong, just say, oh, really, if you believe in right and wrong, then if there's something right, will you talk about it? Oh, yeah. Well, then why aren't you doing this? Because it's politically right. It's not just politically right. It's absolutely, in any way you want to look at it, it's right. When somebody is doing the right thing for our country, it's right. Just quit looking at something that's not, and quit saying, oh, well, if I say something, they'll take they have never taken away a 501c3. They tried to one time. It was a Johnson thing that got put in place. They've never taken it. They've never taken it away from anybody that spoke out about doing anything like that. Oh, during the Biden administration, they talked about doing that. They researched it. They did things, but they didn't do it because of the backlash that would happen. That's the first thing. The second thing, don't let that bother you. Here's what's happened. This has been going on for a number of years, Brent. I'm going to tell you, this is why the people at church do nothing. Ready? It's the end times. No matter what we do, it's the end times. So we should just sit back and let God do whatever he's going to do.
Counter talk.
Yeah. Now, this is what happened. Because of people sitting back doing nothing, that's why Hollywood is full of demons. Mm-hmm. Because people sit back and do nothing, that's why we have all these tablets and all these games and things that are out there that are corrupting and ruining young people's minds, some old people too. The reason why these things are there is because we've sat back and we put our hands underneath us and we go, oh, we can't do anything. It's God's will to be like this. In the days of Noah, look, did Noah speak out in the days of Noah? Yes, he did. So you start thinking about it. We need to speak out. And if we don't speak out, first of all, you need to wake up. I don't care what religion you belong to. You need to wake up, because if you're thinking it's the end times and there's nothing you can do, you're wrong. Because before any of this bad junk is supposed to happen, God's glory is supposed to hit this earth greater than anything ever before. And it's already started. Charlie Kirk's a marker for when it began, not because his death, it's because Satan thought he had him. Yeah. And God said, no, now it's time. Wake up, America. Wake up. Get out and do something. Stop sitting on your hands. You're a disgrace to everything anybody could ever talk about. I'm being blunt.
Yeah.
Really.
Well,
I love that.
That's what we are. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Go ahead, Cher.
Well, like you hit on it, like 501c3, people get so worried about that. I've heard that too. And we have one too. We run a ministry and business and stuff, and I don't care. If they take the 501c3, who cares? I'm still going to do what I'm doing. Like, I don't need a 501c3 to do what the Bible's called me to do, and neither do you. Like, neither does the pastors that are listening to this or the prophets, evangelists, whatever you fit in the fivefold. You're going to do what God's called you to do, regardless of, what limitations, the world puts on you. That's why the underground church, they meet underground. They're still, the gospel is going to go forth. The power of God is going to go forth. Nothing can stop that. So if we can get our minds focused where it needs to be focused, then we can take action where it needs to be done, because the lack of action has also led to what? How many people have been slaughtered in Iran right now? And there's
Over
there's so
100,000
much
now.
going on. Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and people are speaking up, and we need to be able to stand with our brothers and sisters. We need to be talking about these things at church. Church isn't about entertainment. And I know so many churches have turned into that, or feel good, or a country club, and let's just have a little cute Bible study. I mean, sometimes at church you're gonna crawl on the floor, you're gonna cry with your brothers and sisters are being slaughtered, and then you're gonna come up with a plan of what you can do. And the best thing you can do right now is vote, in this country, because if you can vote the right people in, then they can go in and help make policies, even nationally. And we're already seeing that, the switching of alignments and realignments, just like the Lord had been talking about. And I do believe we're going to see some more of that hidden corruption coming out of the European nations and stuff like that. This stuff is happening. In 2000, what was it, 2019, 20, the Lord really started to say, hey, I'm exposing the church. The judgment starts first within. Then I'm going to expose the government. We're right in the middle of what he said. He said it would happen. It's happening. And in the middle, whether end times or not, or the timeline of that, like you said, Ivan, we're always to be active. We're always to have hope. There's always a hope. I mean, in these crazy times, in these chaotic times, we see the revivals is starting at the universities. So I love what that, and the news doesn't pick it up as much, but they will. And I've actually heard Jesus being proclaimed more in this season than I ever have. I don't care if it's, like you said, if it's Jelly Roll, Donald Trump, or
Right.
Nicki Minaj. They're proclaiming Jesus. Yes, there's work to be done, and things like that in their life, but they came to a knowledge of Jesus, and they want to proclaim that in the darkness. There is a spiritual truth to that. Regardless, God could use Obama to lift up. God can use whoever he wants to lift up Jesus, but his name, the most historical and ancient name of all time, is being lifted up today more than ever.
And praise God that it is. There's that saying. There's three kinds of people. There's people who watch things happen. There's people who make things happen. There's people who say, "What just happened?" And someone wants to judge Jelly Roll for his language while proclaiming Jesus during a Luciferian ritual night, and in their faces. Yet they won't even talk about Jesus at work. That's cowards right there. Iran in the midst of slaughter. Europe has finally awakened. So is Iran. They're protesting, and they're not even armed. They're being slaughtered. We're armed to the teeth over here. And if it rains, we're going to miss a meeting. You talk about voting. It only takes 3 county commissioners or 2 county commissioners and a judge per county to go back to paper ballots. It's already set up. We can't prove who really wins. And we're the only nation stupid enough to do voting machines still. On the very voting machines, it says marching towards democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. And so we have the ability to do it. So why don't we do it? Don't vote too early either, because it gives them time for the mysterious mail-ins in the middle of the night. That's the whole thing that the pandemic was about. Even the World Health Organization and Klaus Schwab, you will own nothing. That's Nazi. Everyone's so confused. And of course, the Nazis themselves, Nazis is National Socialist Party, folks. And they're calling the conservatives Nazis. Just so stupid and uneducated and willfully stupid. That's the most irritating. But all that to say is that the time to speak up is past time. God's men have to rise up. Pastor, if you can't raise the men up higher than yourself, that's okay. Bring in someone who can. Unfortunately, we watch Promise Keepers targeted by the DNC and then killed. At a time when only 6% of pastors thought they were leaders. We love pastors and we love churches. Don't get me wrong. Okay. I think that the local church can change America overnight, but you got to do it. You got to do the work. And with all that said, being watchers, we've been very vocal individually. Now we're vocal, collectively. You got to vote, and you have to get proactive, and you have to come against these things. Cher and Ivan, Andrews, Texas. I got a phone call over 10 years ago. Andrews, Texas was #1 in the state in teen pregnancy, teen drug addiction, and teen suicide. Did you know that? And a man named Greg Griffin put on these concerts and Christian concerts, and the churches came together. We changed the crime rate in that town. Wow. And some would argue that town has more millionaires per capita than Midland. Yeah. And so we have the ability. Some of us have actually changed policy. Cher, you were doing ministry in the park, to the lost and to anyone who would listen and with a fearless spirit. So I'm just happy to be locking shields with both of you. And folks, let's all lock shields together. Do what you know to do. 1 John says, how do we know the children of God from the children of the devil? The children of God, they know what to do and they do it. We know what we need to do and do it. The things we distract ourselves with won't be around if they get their way. They've already promised a civil war. They already want white genocide. They already, want the genocide of anyone who thinks a man is a man and a woman is a woman. You got to stand up. You got to be fearless. You're going to fight anyway. Why not fight on your feet instead of down on your knees?
A few years back, I'm going to go back. I think maybe it was 6 years ago, rough guess. I was in Amarillo, Texas. Mm-hmm. And in my hotel room, I just want to speak about this real quick, just for a second. You'll see why. There was a territorial demonic entity that came in the room, tried to choke me. Literally, I watched it. Came in, put his hands on my neck, and then reached his other hand in, tried to grab my heart. It tried to kill me, and I started laughing, literally laughing at it, and I rebuked it, and I basically said, you can't be here. And I described it before. I'm not going to go into all the detail. Because it was trying to stop me, and it kept telling me I can't do what I was going to do, because I went to the headwaters that filled up their reservoir, and I was blessing the water, what God told me to do, to activate that water to get rid of the political corruption in that city. Guess what? Look at who's the mayor in that city. Boom. Things are happening. There's still some political things happening there. What I'm getting to is that if people understood the demonic and how the demonic operates and how there's territorial spirits, which are separate from that, but they're still part of the same thing. But when they come in and they take control, we need to collectively stand up against this stuff. Don't think, oh, I'm not strong enough. You are. If you have the power of God in you, you have the Holy Spirit inside of you, and you're not afraid to use it, you can go up against these things. I went up against that, and then I see what God has been doing, and he's still doing it. There's still more things. They're going to be cleaning house there pretty soon. Literally, going to be cleaning house in that area. And it's going to be moving from there into other cities and towns. It's going to be going south, and it's going to be spreading out. God is doing something there that he hasn't done anyplace else. And believe me, it's working. So I had to bring that up, because there was something I don't think you guys even knew that happened before, and I was going to just let you know. That's,
so be it. So be it, Cher.
Love that mayor.
Well, I know Brant and I know that's true, because we've both labored in Amarillo and then Dumas, Texas, and then here in Andrews, Texas, and I believe it. I just want to give encouragement to people in different states that, say you're in a Democratic state and you're like, well, what can I do? I'm in this Democratic state, and I say to take a stand, to do those things, to listen to the voice of the Lord, watch and listen, and do what he's called you to do, just like Ivan, and bless the water. Do what he's called you to do. Maybe it's in a school, maybe it's over your children, whatever it is, your sphere of influence. But also, I took some trips to California about that time, about 6 years ago, two different trips, and it was the same thing. There was so much warfare in that place, but I knew it was there for a reason. And so whenever you're called to different places, there's a purpose behind it. And like Ivan says, it talks about it in the Bible. This was common knowledge. We didn't have to convince people. We didn't have all these different denominations where we're having to convince somebody of spiritual warfare. They were aware of that. When Peter was let out of prison, and he goes and knocks on the disciples' doors. They're like, oh, it's probably his angel. I mean, they were used to seeing angels. They were used to warfare. There are principalities over different nations, and then there's powers over different states and things like that. So there's a hierarchy here. And I'm not saying to run out there and just start trying to tackle every demon, but our principality, which is above demons. Demons are the lower end workers by yourself. But if you're listening to the Lord and He's giving you an assignment, He'll see you through that assignment. Maybe you need to gather some people. Maybe you need to start having nightly prayer meetings, and maybe you need to start getting involved. I know like Brant is really big on that, getting people involved in your local politics right now is going to make a big difference. So I know you've been talking a lot about that with, I think it's patriotsinaction.com, right, Brant?
Patriotsinaction.com. You can text Patriot to 84576. Text Patriot to 84576. And God is bringing it all together. I talked to Natasha Owens, incredible artist, yesterday. She put it on the line. She was not welcome even in her own Christian music industry because she spoke against the worship of Moloch. Come on, folks. But we are finding commonality. We are finding a place together for those who have been fearless and faithful. And we will continue to be. And you can too. Where you are, you can make a difference. But pray. I could do a better job at everything, okay? We're not here on a screen, oh, we've arrived. Oh, getting a download. No, we're real people with a real God and the real... When you have the Spirit of Jesus, you have the Spirit of wisdom, you have access to these things. It doesn't have to be mystical, and we don't put a price tag on it. Those who devoted their lives to going around and sounding the alarm, like Ivan, like Cher, they are worthy, of your support and your prayers as well. But I'm thrilled to be standing shoulder to shoulder with you. This is the time. It's showtime. It's showtime. And you're up. And this is why we were born. I guess God thought you were up to the task, folks. So it's up to us now, okay? He's got Gen X in the president's cabinet. It was up to us to fix this garbage, raised on hose water and neglect for a reason, okay? And it's up to this youngest generation, don't let them down. Don't let them down. God used Charlie, who would have been a president, but God used Charlie to ignite the flame. They're ignited. Don't let them down. And of course, our mentors and our fathers. And again, Ivan, you're not that much older than I am, but you are a father. You are a mentor. You are, a voice in your region and beyond. The mayor loves you, by the way, Cole Stanley. We love Cole as well. But all that to say is it's time to come together and do what we know to do. It's time to put to action what we've always, hopefully, have been planning for. Most of you, if you've been in church most of your lives, you have the equivalent of a Bible college education, folks. There's only so many times you can talk about 7 ways to overcome a bad mood or just being nice. It's time to be warriors, time to be watchers. And it's time to literally pull children out of the fire. And that brought us full circle to this Epstein thing. Pray that those things come down, that more is revealed, and don't stop talking about it, no matter how bad the media or the powers that be want you to. So another great Watchers. Thank you so much, you two.
Thank you. It's been great.
Be sure and thank you. Go to ivantuttle.com, ivantuttle.com. Also go to I Will Not Keep Silent Ministries, IWNKS.com. Not .org, but .com.
.com.
And then, of course, giving credit where credit is due. I've been doing some things. Go to Ron Charles, keepitfoundation.org. And, folks, we're in this together. It's glorious. Let's get to